Welcome back, guys, to a brand new episode of Mastering Programming. In today's episode, we're actually doing something that I've never done before. I never actually thought I would do, and that is I have a visitor with me on this channel. Now, the visitor that I have here, as you can see, is Amaan. Amaan is actually someone that I met in my first year of uni. I thought he was such a weird person. I would never think that I would be friends with him, but he actually ended up being one of my closest friends and actually one of, or the only friend that I have at uni that I always hang out with. We do all the same subjects. We fail every single test together. We pass every single test together. We're on sync exactly the same. And today I just thought I would include him with me. He's also studying software engineering and he has some really good things to tell you about software engineering and what it feels like to be an engineer at this current day and age. So I'm not gonna continue talking for too long. I'm just gonna let him speak and introduce himself and say a couple of good facts maybe about him to start this episode. So Aman, the stage is yours.
Yep, so as David mentioned, my name is Amaan. Bit of a weird intro though, David, calling me a weirdo. No, but yeah, David and me met back in first year university, I think in an applications programming subject that we were doing together, and we've been friends since then. And David is also my only friend at university as well. I'm studying my bachelor's in software engineering honors, and I've also got a internship at a software financial company as well.
Yeah, so he's obviously doing great for himself, and he's been actually Aman is one of those people who are getting really high marks at uni. And just to kick off this episode, I'll ask him like a few questions just to get you, relaxed and to get to make people know you better. And then we're actually gonna just have like an open-ended conversation towards the end. So the first question that I actually wanted to ask you is, why did you pick software engineering? And I know we've been together, like we've been friends for a really long time, but I've never actually asked you, why did you pick software engineering? Were you always passionate about it? Did you always want to do it?
So I didn't really intentionally pick software engineering. Originally, when I was studying in high school, I did electronics as one of my subjects, and I loved it completely. One of my teachers, Mr. Amada Kasira, really got me into it and made me kind of understand how awesome it would be to do electronic engineering at university. Now, when I was in Year 12 in my last year of high school, I kind of was trying to balance things out, trying to find out what would be the most ideal engineering for me to do, and I had zilch experience or even understanding of what the software industry was like. So then I kind of heard a few words from a few people, had a few discussions here and there, did a little bit of networking. And a lot of things that resonated was that software engineering would be a really smart move for me as an engineer to pick. Firstly, with the amount of jobs that are available in the city that live in, um, the growing, how it's growing exponentially as well as an industry, and there's so many new advancements coming through, new technologies being made, so there's so many opportunities, and it's so deep into it, software engineering, that there are so many possibilities out of it as well. So then in the end, I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And when I gave it a shot in university, I actually loved it completely. With the opportunities that are out there, a lot of the stuff you're doing by designing different programs, websites, it could be an application, even doing data structures and algorithms, like just doing those things. I enjoyed it a lot, and that's what kind of got me into it and made me stick with it for the last 4 years now.
Yeah, well, so originally you didn't really pick software engineering out of passion, but rather out of like the reward that will come to it. But then you actually became in love with it, and you kind of like you kind of like liked it more after you started doing it, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Nice, yeah. A lot of people actually say that because a lot of people feel bad to kind of like do a degree or start working on something without fully loving it, but they don't understand that like you can actually start something and then after you get to know it, you get to enjoy it and be more passionate about it. All right. Second question is, if you got a different ATA, what would you have chosen to do? So would you have chosen something else? Like if you let's say you can do medicine or you can do like I don't know, just anything else. Would you have chosen it or would you actually continue with software engineering?
Another degree that I was really keenly interested in, other than doing engineering, was psychology. So I
Oh,
wanted to become like a psychologist.
I never thought you would say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of interested in that, but of course I fell quite short from it as well. And after doing a lot of research and realizing the amount of mental strain and the amount of work that goes into it, helping someone's psychological health, it requires a lot of toughness out of it, and it's something that I didn't want to put myself into. I'm not saying that it's a bad degree or a bad profession. people who are doing it and helping people's like mental health. It's fantastic what they're doing, and they should keep doing it because they must be great at it. That's why they picked it, and they must be passionate about it. But for me, it was something that I just like. Eventually, I was a bit like, oh, I don't think I'll be able to do it, and because of that, and also because my ATAR was lower than what it was supposed to be for that degree, I ended up going ahead with software engineering.
Yeah, and I guess you can still work with psychologists as a software engineer. Like you can kind of like do some work, and for like psychologists, I don't know, you can work on research or you can work on apps, which is actually what I'm doing right now, which can actually work with helping like some mental illness issues.
Yeah, but that is true though. Like
Yeah,
I feel like that when like I've worked in two different medical companies, actually medical technology companies, and there's so much potential out
yeah,
there for this industry as well. So even like software engineers, like you would think that why would I need to work with like general practitioners, your doctors and stuff? But there's technology being made out there that improves the user experience for doctors. When they're interacting with practice management tools or tools that allow them to create graphs and stuff for certain data entries about certain medical conditions, whatever it is. I've worked in those areas, and there's so much potential out there. And even if there's like stuff that you can work with psychologists as well, there's software engineers can definitely do work with them as well.
yeah, for sure. I noticed you said that you did some research regarding like psychologists and how mind draining it can be. Now that you've been doing 4 years of software engineering, do you feel at all that software engineering can also be mind draining and it can kind of like really pull your nerves sometimes?
I 100% think that any profession can be like mind numbing. It can tire you out, make you like drain your body completely with the amount of hours you put in. I've seen people that I've worked with closely who put extra hours into their job as well. Some people put 12 hours on the weekend, putting
Mm,
extra time. And when you're putting all this time into it, it does have a pretty serious toll on your mental health. So, personally, when I've worked in this industry, even though I've only worked with it in the last 2 years, and I've worked in three different companies. The one thing I've realized very, very well is that you need to be able to find ways to balance things out. So even though yes, you are working on a project and there's a deadline and it's quite serious, you need to understand that in a day you should be only spending maybe 8 to 10 hours maximum on your job, nothing more. You shouldn't be putting work on the weekend as well and putting your mind and putting a lot of thought into it, because you need to be able to balance things out as well. As an engineer, nothing comes easy. You got to work hard, especially in development. When you're coding, if
yeah.
you're testing, if you're doing business analytical work, if you're doing any sort of data work as well, anything that's related with technology, you're putting a lot of effort into it and a lot of mind into it as well. Like psychologically, you're working really hard to be able to deal with all this technology. So it's really important you balance it out. And I even see people like at my job that I've worked with closely, or even previous companies as well. They've had to take time off from the job a lot because they've put so many hours into it that they're not able to continue on at like an efficient rate. And as engineers, you want to be efficient, but you want to be smart about it as well. You don't want to just go ahead and put 12 to 15 hours a day into your work, go to sleep, wake up, do your job again, go to sleep, wake up, do your job again. There needs to be a balance in it. You may need to spend some time exercising with family, with friends, going out for dinners and stuff. So it's really important that you do have this balance because, like I said, in the end, if you put all your time and effort into your job, any profession, doesn't have to be engineering, it could be being a doctor, it could be being a psychologist, a business individual, a banker, whatever it is. If you put all these hours into it, when you have time to yourself to really heal, really, kind of settle yourself down, get that rest you need. So it's super important that you balance things out.
Whoa, man, that was a really good answer. That's pretty good. That's actually really nice. And I think actually, man, honestly, as a student specifically, I feel like uni does not accommodate for you that mind-numbing feeling that you get. Like they really do, especially in engineering, they really do throw a lot of stuff at you at the exact same time, and sometimes you cope with it, sometimes you completely break down. But I guess it does give you a little bit of a preview on how the real world will be, because the real world is exactly the same. Like people think, oh, work is gonna be easier than uni, but truth is, at uni you're gonna lose a couple of marks, you can do the exam again. But in the real world, if you stuff up a project, that's thousands, maybe millions, depending on what project you're working on, that you're wasting. And If you fail
Definitely.
at your job, you're going to lose everything in your life. But if you do bad in an exam at uni, it's not the end of the world. Well, at your job, most likely it will cause a lot of damage.
You're in a much tighter situation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Me and you can tell that, can definitely guarantee that, because we didn't do that well sometimes in uni, and we're still making it fine. So
Yeah, I mean, like all that matters is that even you may not be doing good in the beginning. I realize
yeah,
that as long as you pick up your weight and you work hard, you can definitely pick up back on and actually do quite well in your
yeah,
subjects.
yeah. I think
Like
I
I,
learned that from you. Man,
mm,
you rocketed back like crazy. You're a genius.
no, no, but it's true that like I've been in a situation where I've been in like maybe the late pass mark range in my subject, and I'm like, oh my god, like I need to really pick this up. And usually I've been very fortunate that maybe it's happened in the very beginning of the semester, in the very few weeks of the subject. So luckily enough, I've kind of devised a plan and breaking things out for my next upcoming assessments, and I've turned things around, and I've ended up with a high distinction or a distinction as my mark. So yeah, definitely, you need to be working hard as well when it comes to like if you're struggling in any way at all at university in particular.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. All right. So another question that I was almost forgot to ask you is, what did your family think when you said that you want to be a software engineer? So I know you're from like an Indian background, and they probably really wanted you to be like a doctor or something like that. But what did they actually think when you said software engineering?
Um,
Were they happy? Were your family in general happy?
Yeah, no, they were definitely happy. I think the one thing my parents always told me that was no matter what profession you did, as long as you're enjoying it, you're happy, and you're successful at it, that's all that matters in the end. Because if you're enjoying the work you do, then of course you're going to be successful at it. And when it comes in the long run, you don't find it to be quite depressing or sad doing the job, or you don't feel like, oh, it's another job I've got to go to. You'll actually be like, oh, I can't wait to go to work. And even with my sisters, like I've got sisters who are in completely different professions as well themselves, my siblings. So, some of them are in research, at university, some of them are in the finance industry, but they're very successful at it. So my parents, of course, and my whole family were quite happy that they knew that I was really happy with the decision I made. I was willing to go for it, and they were like, you know what, as long as you're happy, definitely go for it. And of course, they knew themselves that it's a very successful profession as well,
Yeah,
because there are some people that I know they know as well that have done very well as software engineers. So there's definitely a you set yourself for the future with this kind of
for
profession as
sure.
well.
Yeah, definitely. Um, all right. So now I guess I would say we finished like the main questions that I wanted to ask you, and now one last question. It's open ended. I want you to speak as much as you can, inform people with as much knowledge as you can, and pretty much just speak about your expectations versus like reality when it came to engineering. What did you actually think you're going to be like by the fourth year? Did you think you're actually going to be making like a couple of jobs? Did you think it will be easy to find a job as a software engineer? Are you satisfied where you are right now as an engineer and as a student, and even in your life in general, or not? Like, what's next for you? Tell me everything.
Yeah.
Tell them everything.
I think if I started with university in particular, I did not expect myself to be in this position where like I would be doing like well, I'm happy with the way I'm going. So for like my marks are good, I'm averaging in the distinction range as well, and things are progressively getting better and better as I go with each subject, and I'm improving a lot as well. So for me, like I was kind of taken back to, oh wow, like I'm doing quite well. I'm successful because there was a little doubts in my mind in the beginning. I'm like, am I going to be able to do this? Is it going to be easy? Like I've heard stories about people struggling and stuff, and like finding it very difficult. So for me, I was a bit like, am I going to be able to do this at all? But as time has gone, and I've kind of experienced what university is like, what it's like doing subjects and assessments at a very harder and higher level, I've kind of understood, like what I need to do day by day when I'm doing my university subjects, when I'm studying, and I'm quite surprised where I am because I feel like that personally I'm very successful in where I stand in my
Yeah,
university
for
point of
sure.
view to like where I've learned a lot as well. In the beginning I felt like that I would maybe struggle to learn because entering the university environment was slightly tough for me because it was something that I'd never experienced personally. And even in high school, teachers just say all this time, like, you know, nothing's going to be straightforward. They don't give you everything in your hand. You're going to have to do research yourself. You're going to have to go out and
Definitely.
do things independently. So for me, like the beginning, it was very difficult, but things got easier as I got towards the end of first year and then I hit second year and third year. It just got simpler and simpler because I got used to it. I made time to really understand, okay, how can I structure my assessments, my subjects, where can I fit in to do, this lecture here, this lecture on this day, and making timetables, really understand what I can do. So, I spent a lot of time, really organizing things, creating a schedule to be able to be successful at university. And because of that, I was able to cut things out and make things really easy and simple for myself as well. Like that was my main focus, being efficient. So for me, I'm quite happy with where I'm university. Career wise, I think for me is the biggest surprise. I always heard that it's really hard to get anywhere,
Hmm.
like in an internship, especially at really good, like at really top companies that are regarded as one of the best, in the city that I live in. So in the country that I'm from in particular, like there are a couple of organizations that are really tough to get into, that are considered as the biggest companies that provide engineering opportunities, jobs, the work they do with engineers as well.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, I was working in a normal retail job when I first started university. So for me, it was like, am I going to be able to get a job in between university? Maybe I'll be able to get my first job right after I graduate. Maybe that's when my career is going to kickstart off. But what I did spend a lot of time on was networking with people, in different events that happen at my university. That sort of organizations like IBM, Combank, Telstra, like all these other different organizations that they spend time on, like teaching people about how to network, showing them opportunities, opening the horizon up over like what you guys can do as interns in your career and stuff, or as university students. So after learning all this knowledge and stuff, I started seeking out jobs, going out and being like, where can I go from this? Can I
Hmm.
find this kind of job and stuff? It was really tough in the beginning, and I thought I would never get a job because I spent almost 3 months trying to find my
I
very first
remember. Yeah,
internship. Yeah, it was. I remember talking to you about it. It was one of the biggest struggles I
definitely.
ever experienced. I
It
thought I
did put
was
you
not
down.
gonna land.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does put you down, and you're like, well, am I going to even land an internship? Like, will I be able to get the experience I need? And because I was coming from strictly just a sales and a retail experience from my career, and I did that as a side job in my university, I was like, well, I have no experience, so who's going to hire me? So it was really tough in the beginning, but as soon as I got my foot in the door at one of the organizations or one of the first companies
it
I
gets
worked
much
at, which was
easier.
a medical technology, exactly. I worked there for almost a year, and because I worked there for almost a whole year, that allowed me to learn a lot of stuff in the technology industry, in the software industry, in business perspective as well. I picked up a lot of knowledge. I built up my skills. I made myself better as a software engineer, but also as a personal human being as well. And all of a sudden, after that 1 year when I got that job, and I had the whole experience for a whole year, I then applied for other places, and all of a sudden, I started getting people calling me up, being like, "Hey, do you want to come for an interview? Would you like to, have this opportunity, this and that?" And it opened so many doors for me. And so all of a sudden you realize like, wow, like, I found it so hard in the beginning. I doubted myself. I'm like, I'm never going to get a job at all. It's like impossible. There's no way. Like I look at all these other students,
Yeah,
they're doing amazing. They must be
yeah,
fantastic. Like I'm not worth anything. That's what I personally felt. And I feel like a lot of interns, software engineering students in particular, feel like that in the very beginning. Like you have
definitely.
no worth, you have nothing to put into the
I
organization or the
remember
company
it.
you're going to join. Exactly. So, after that whole year of working there, all these doors started opening, and I started getting all these new opportunities, jobs I could look for and stuff. And I'm really thankful for that because after that occurred, it opened more doors, and I got another
Life
job
got better.
opportunity. Yeah, I got more experience, and because I'm getting more experience as I'm applying for other jobs as well, they looked at, for example, like my LinkedIn profile. If you guys know what LinkedIn is, it's a really important social media
For
platform that
sure.
a lot of engineers use. Yeah, they do use it to be able to like interact about jobs, businesses, everything in general. Be able to show off your portfolio as well about all the jobs you've done. So all of a sudden, I'm starting to get all the experience. People looking me up on LinkedIn, on the social media platform, and you're like, wow, like this guy's got experience. Maybe we'll be able to hire him. Let me call him. Let me ask him, hey, do you want to do an interview? Hey, are you interested in this role we've got? Are you interested in applying for it? So I started opening all the even more doors after my second placement, and because of that, I was really, really like grateful, and I got this huge opportunity to be able to work at a company, called Combank, which is a financial technology company. It's one of the biggest engineering companies as well in where I live in particular city I'm from. So because I was able to get an internship at this particular place, I was like, wow, like I got an internship at this
You feel like you can
area.
do anything
And
after that.
exactly, like you feel like you can do anything, and being one of the biggest companies ever, and also one of it being one of the most amazing opportunities I have ever gotten in my life. Like I'm being serious, one of the most amazing opportunities. I was like, wow, like I managed to get this. Like this is awesome. So to anyone out there, like if you are really struggling with finding an internship, it's normal. It's completely normal
I agree,
because
yeah.
when you have no experience, you're gonna struggle in the beginning. But I can show you this much: if you land that one job, that one placement, even if for 3, 4 months you're working there, when you're getting the experience and you're learning, you can start, going out, applying for more jobs, opening more doors, and you might even be able to land or, a big opportunity that you never thought you could land, just like myself. I just see like at my university there'll be careers fair. I would see all these stores of these big organizations, these big companies from the city that I'm from, and I'm like, wow, like like Telstra's there, IBM, CBA, all these different types of banks. And I'm like, wow, like these are really big opportunities, but you know what? I'm not gonna make it. And of course, when you have that mindset, you're gonna have doubts in yourself.
For sure.
So I'm pretty grateful that I've really pushed myself. I'm like, now you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I don't care if I get rejected. I'm gonna go for it. Because like I said, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna call
Exactly.
me like, hey mate, sorry you didn't get it. It's not for you.
You're
Unfortunately,
gonna go
they're only
back
gonna
to
move
point
on you.
zero, nothing lower.
Exactly. You're not going to go to the negative spectrum. You're back
Yeah,
at zero. Let's work from the way up and let's go towards the positive direction. So you can work on it. You can work hard and be like, okay, let me find jobs here and there. So, for my career, I was really grateful that I went there. Now, if I look at my personal perspective, like personal life, there are certain goals that I still want to be, kind of, be successful in. But to be able to be successful in anything, you can't rush it, unfortunately. And I've learned that the hard way. There are certain personal goals, personal dreams that I'm trying to be, successful in. It could be, with business, sports, whatever it is. There are certain things that I'm trying to accomplish. And at the moment, I'm not there at that point yet, unfortunately. But that's because, I've only just started that goal, that dream I'm trying to succeed at. And it does take time. And like I said, you can't rush anything that you're trying to accomplish. It takes time. And the most important thing in life is that failure is super important. You have to fail sometimes in life because if you don't fail, how are you going to learn? How are you going to know that I'm going wrong in this area? So now maybe I can use this area to then find ways I can improve and bring myself back up. You need to be able to fail in those areas. So from a personal perspective, I'm happy with my life so far. Like university, my career is going
your
awesome.
friends.
Exactly. I've got amazing friends like David right here who's doing an awesome YouTube channel. He's teaching people about programming. And, you and me have started from somewhere where we knew nothing about
I
programming
could
languages.
not write one
Now,
single line of code at all.
in first university,
At all.
we couldn't write anything at
Oh
all. But in
man.
second university, and so and towards the end of first university, we worked really hard
Yeah.
and we worked our way up. And that's how, success works. You're going to fail sometimes to then be able to be successful. So yeah, so from a personal perspective, I'm happy with everything I am, but of course there are some personal goals I wanted to see succeed at. But everyone's got their ups and downs, and no one's gonna have it perfect. I
Exactly.
never had it perfect. I always had to work hard for anything I've ever wanted, but that's part of life. You have to work hard, and that's just something that you're gonna have to live with, and that's something you're gonna have to work out as well.
Whoa. Aman, honestly, I every time I speak to you, I learn so much more, and that's why I wanted to bring you here. And I'm sure everyone who's watching this video, if they're watching until now, first of all, you're a legend for watching until now. B, I'm sure you must have learned a lot, so please make sure you do. Comment below, say thank you so much for Aman for coming. Make sure you definitely hit the like button so he can see your positive support, and for
Yeah.
me also to get some likes. And make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Now, is there any last final stuff you want to say, Aman?
Look, if you guys have anything you guys want to mention or anything like that, definitely leave a comment down below. Because I'd like to hear about you guys and your perspective on actually talk. Because David and I think you're doing our own podcast as well. Maybe in the future, if the
Yeah.
opportunity ever comes, we're going to do a duo stuff. And we're not going to just talk about engineering, or because there's some stuff we are going to talk about. But we'll talk about heaps of things, of course, that interest both of us and that interest the public as well. So definitely, leave comments down below.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you thought about our discussion as well. Also, I do have a YouTube channel as well. Don't forget.
I will
So
leave the
my
link. I'll leave the
yeah,
link.
leave the link. It's double edged. I do a little bit of gaming stuff. I've always been passionate about gaming since the age of 4 and 5. So I've been posting a little bit of things. I will be posting new content as well. So
I'll
so
definitely leave the link.
yeah, leave the link down below. But definitely give us your opinion as well on the
Sure,
comment. We would love to hear more. And of
definitely.
course, stay tuned to David's channel and my channel as well, because we may be talking more about our podcast and
For
stuff
sure,
in
man.
any sort of upcoming videos. But honestly, thank you so much, guys, for listening. Though, back to you, David.
Thank you, Aman, for this ending. Uh, there's nothing else to say. You've pretty much said it all. Thank you all for watching and have a good day. Bye bye.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.